Hello and welcome again to the podcast See What Happens. This is a very special See What Happens with always the lovely Patricia Maya Schneider. Say hi.
Hi.
Now, will you tell us why this one's such a special show?
Okay. First of all, drum roll, please.
Hang on.
One of my dearest friends, and also probably one of the person. Okay, you can.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You can stop it. One of the most important people, I would say, in my whole life.
Wow.
Is this woman, because she's a genius. She's like super smart. I look up to her because she's amazing.
Yes.
I admire her. I love her because she's a great friend.
Yes.
And a great person. And this is the amazing Silvia Olmedo.
Doctor.
Thank
Yes,
you.
she's a sexologist.
Sexologist.
She's also a psychologist.
I'm psychologist
Yeah.
and a criminologist.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
now, which one is the most interesting to you of the three? So first of all, sexologist. Can you explain what that is to people?
That's easy. That's boring. Sex is boring. You know why? Because it's simple.
Okay, well,
You
how
know-
is it simple? Because you got to explain that one. Because you just said sex
because,
is boring.
you know,
That's like the
I mean,
be
it's-
all end all for most human beings for most of their existence.
I love to practice sex. I love it. But to talk about sex is boring. And I tell you why.
Because it's like describing it. It's like
It's very easy. If you have a sexual problem, I can fix it, I would say, very easily. And I tell you why. Because first, most of the people, if they have a problem with sexuality, it's because they have the wrong idea about something.
Like
Okay?
what? Give me a for instance on this one.
Oh,
this is
just-
starting out really good,
Yeah,
like
this is
gangbusters.
like for
Hey,
example,
a lot of our podcasts, we're trying kind of meandering to kind of find something to talk about. But this with Silvia Olmedo, she just kind of just comes right. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead. So there's a particular.
Okay, like one of the main
example.
reasons why women don't enjoy sex is because they don't give themselves an homenage. How do you say? An honor. Masturbate. They feel that masturbation is a bad thing. You know.
I don't. I love masturbation.
Me too. But we will tell why we love masturbating, but because I like
Okay.
I always tell Rob, like, I every day I have an orgasm, with or without you.
That's good. That's good. But do you think about him? That's my question.
Ooh. Of course.
Okay.
In Spanish, we say she's a caballera. She's a gentle lady. She won't talk. So basically, a lot of women feel that if they masturbate themselves, they are doing something wrong. And what I say
Where
is,
does that come from, though?
it comes from really in
Like
medieval
ideas?
times. Yeah, it was women they couldn't enjoy sex because if we enjoy sex, we will want to compare. So we want to have sex with a lot of guys, and that
Or I thought it was just. I thought that was a religious kind of
Of
guilt
course,
thing.
completely,
Because you just kind of skipped a couple hundred years on us there.
But
couple
the thing-
thousand years.
But the thing is, it's even it's even more simple.
Okay.
If I know how to enjoy sex,
Yes.
if I know how
You're
to play
dirty.
a game,
You're
I
dirty.
will want, really dirty. but if I want how to play a game, I
Yes.
will want to play with a lot of teams. Do I? So it was a way to control women. If
Yes.
you think that masturbation is bad,
Yeah.
then you will learn how to please yourself, and then you will have sex with only one person, even if you don't enjoy with him because he's the only one. No.
Yeah.
But so it's like
way it should be.
Is the ha ha ha? When I discovered this finger, I have a joke. So basically, what happened is that
Yes.
what I
happened?
tell people is
Yes.
that okay. You have sexual fantasies, and they say, "Oh no, I would never have a sexual fantasy." Why you don't have a sexual fantasy? Because I have to tell them, well, masturbation is not only good; it's necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, I will prescribe you masturbate every day. Not thinking about me, please. Well, if you are a lesbian, maybe it would be an honor. But my point is. So the main thing.
So people feel like they need to get permission. Is that it? And do they feel like because they don't?
Not only permission.
But-
The problem is first they think that is something bad.
Okay.
And Second, they don't know how to do it.
Okay, there
And
you
the
go.
most
So they need
important
instruction,
thing- okay.
permission, and then instructions.
And then I tell them, what is your sexual fantasy?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh no, I will never think about sexual fantasies.
What was that great cartoon that you just showed me the other day about this?
Which one? Which one?
It was the guys that, I don't want to give the punchline away, but it's like, please give me this again, show no.
Oh, yeah,
explain
yeah.
it.
It's a
And-
meme. Un meme.
En
de
español,
mexicano.
primero.
So, no. Basically, it's like, it's a meme of 3 pictures. The first one is without a straw, please. Because it's like
It's
the
a drink,
California
a
thing.
drink.
So it's like without a straw, and then
Yeah,
the second one is without a plastic bag, like now in every
You can't have,
grocery store.
they get rid of plastic straws in California.
Okay.
There-
Yeah,
there are no
and
more
the third
plastic
one
bags.
was a picture of Zac Efron without a shirt and says, "Without mercy."
That's
That's
a
so
fantasy.
funny. That's so funny.
So when I
Show
tell,
no mercy. Even in your voice, it was like, I'm.
but that's the problem. It's like, maybe he's listening. Clive Owen, are you there? When you tell somebody that's having a sexual fantasy, is very good.
Yes.
It's very good.
Yes.
But you cannot tell your partner.
Well, first of all, I would not be threatened by the idea of a sexual fantasy that doesn't have me involved in it. I mean,
You wouldn't?
No, because it's like, to me, it's like go out for your entrees, but I mean for your appetizer, but come home for the entree. That's what I think, and I think that's fine. I don't think it should be limited or stifle somebody's sexuality.
I agree. But if, for example, it's better not to share your fantasies with
Your partner. I
Otherwise,
agree.
that would be,
I agree because
that
it's always
yeah.
going to be there.
Yeah,
in the head
and we
of
are
the
going
other.
to meet him, by the way. I will make
No,
sure.
but here's the thing.
Clive Owen, I'm here.
But the idea though is to not stifle it and also not be threatened by it.
It's hard. It's hard. And I tell
and you
what.
talked about this, which is really true, and then this is a really important thing that I think we're jumping way ahead here. But I remember you said a really interesting thing, and I think our listeners, you can explain it to them in a way that I think from a woman's point of view would be less. I could say that they'll listen more, or they would be more open to the idea, and that's simply this: like a woman can, if there's infidelity in a relationship. A woman can forgive easier than a man, and I don't say that, and I don't say that like is any sexism in that statement. And the also statement is like if you can't forgive, you can't stay in the relationship. But like it's because of men's ego, and that was a very interesting thing you brought up that Patricia told me years ago, and that's really interesting. Do you still feel that way?
I think that women can forgive, but they cannot. For us, it's very hard to trust again. I can forgive you, okay?
Right.
I forgive you.
Right.
But this doesn't mean that I'm going to be afraid that you will do it again. I give you this example.
Then you don't really forgive me.
No, I did forgive you. It's like my dog. My dog, I got very close to him and he bited my nose. Did
yeah.
I forgive my dog? Yeah. Will I put my face again in front of him? No. That's the thing.
Okay.
Forgiving is not trust. Forgiving, you do it when you love.
Okay.
But when trusting is very hard.
Yes.
You know what happens sometimes? Guys think that, okay, she didn't forgive me because she doesn't trust me. Of course.
Why would she? You betrayed the trust.
To get trust back is the hardest thing
yeah,
ever.
sure.
So, guy, if you are unfaithful, first, you have to say, yes, I did it. I'm very, 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 very sorry. I just realized how much I love you. I just realized how much damage I caused to our relationship. And every time you look at me on my phone, I won't tell you, you don't trust me, okay? Because she won't trust you. And she has the right of not trusting you.
But you know
Absolutely.
what? I think like if someone is unfaithful, they shouldn't say. I think I would say just be very discreet and don't say it. Why would you hurt the other person? You know?
Okay, because
it
most
depends.
of the guys,
most
they
of
are
the people.
caught.
I'm talking about guys or girls. First of all, it's depends on the maturity of the person if they can deal with it and not carry it into the relationship. I think that's. I'd say to me. I don't know. I don't have the intellectual capacity to be able to have a lie of that nature of trust. To me, it's like being unfaithful is also a thing to myself because you have that in your head. You know, it's like it's always I did this, like you know, and it's like So for me, it's also a selfish reason.
I was gonna
to
say
not do it.
so it's for you. So you do it for remorse.
No, not
right?
for remorse.
It's coming from a place of
No, but for me, it's like it's also a place of like, you know, I don't want to have that. I'm just giving you part of that.
That's emotional
definition.
blackmail. So this way you don't do it.
No, but also it's like I'm saying like to me, I don't need that in my head, but also I don't need it. But the thing is, what I wanted to bring up, which you haven't gotten to yet, is about the men's ego not being when a woman does it, and how a guy feels like it's tougher for a guy to get over it. Now, the trust issue could be the same for a man and a woman, you know. But however, the ego issue is what I wanted to talk about, which I found so interesting. Was like the guy like, oh my god, I can't compete with that, or I just never got over it.
That's right, because they start to have a fear, they lack confidence. But again, it's like, why? It's not such a big thing. You know, it's like, if we all, like, for example, if I made a mistake and I have a great relationship, and you are telling me you don't forgive me because of this, is that you don't love me enough.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
But
You know?
But I think, you know, what I'm trying to
Is that you love yourself so much that you cannot allow yourself to be with a person who doesn't think that you are 100% all the time. What the heck? Of course you are
That's
not.
a great way of saying it.
Yeah.
But what I was saying though is that some guys can never get that their insecurity is such that they can't get over that thing, and it's because of their own. You know, it's their own insecurity.
Wake up, little Susie. You know, with you know, most of you really this reality is driven towards infidelity and to become obsessed with food, sex and food. Okay, so it's very hard to control yourself. So I might be very good in my diet, but if one day I ate a hamburger. Don't kill me for that. You know, the rest of my, you know, I think that when you love somebody, you have to see the whole picture.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
But going back to masturbation.
Yes, of course.
For example,
I was
you know
hoping.
what I do?
Yes.
What I do is that I like that guy a lot. I go to my hotel and I think about myself with him.
There you
we
go.
do everything. And
Yeah.
talking about sexual fantasies, you know what I tell people is like, okay, because they feel guilty because they have a sexual fantasy. And I always tell this thing, well, have you seen Peter Pan? Yeah. When you were a kid, you wanted to fly like Peter Pan? Yeah. Did you ever try to jump from your building to be Peter Pan? No. So exactly the same happens with sexual fantasies.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you use it to enjoy yourself, to light the bulb, to start to get pleasure, you know, but you shouldn't feel guilty about having a fantasy. And that's the thing. So, saying that, if I teach you, if I get rid of your taboos, you know, I get, you know, we are going to clean all those taboos.
Yes.
And I teach you
It's
a
a
little
long
bit
afternoon.
of logistic.
Yes.
You can become the best ever lover.
Oh, really?
Haha, just with me. Oh my God, this is
Silvia transforms.
He
man.
puts an alcohol in my tea, I think so.
Okay. So I mean, let's talk about the transformation then.
So the point I was trying to make is sexuality is something for me. I mean, of course, if you have a trauma in your life, it could impact on your sexual life, on your relationship. It's different, you know.
Yeah.
But having a healthy sexual life is very simple. Okay, and in Spanish we have two words to define simple. Okay, sencillo. And simple.
Okay.
Tell me the words that a language has, and I tell you how they analyze reality. Simple is something that is simple. You know, is everybody can do it.
Like plain or
Plain.
like
Sencillo is like, actually you have plain and simple in English. Very good point. Very good point. And sencillo is something that is simple because it goes to the essence, you know? So what I think is that in sexuality...
And also essential.
That's right. I do think that right now, the way we look at sexuality is terrible.
I agree.
Because it's becoming something that we consume We consume the person. We count the numbers. We count how big it is. That's not a healthy sexuality. For example, everybody tells me, oh, you're a sexologist. Ho, 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 ho. No, darling. When you're a chef, you don't eat everything that they put in your plate. Actually, you eat very little things because you're
You constantly have food in front
You
of
have a better
That's right.
taste.
I have-
And
that's right.
You
My-
want just the best.
I have my taste buds are very sophisticated, So exactly the same happens with sexuality. So what it worries me right now is that first, young kids are afraid of intimacy, emotional intimacy. And for them, it's very easy to have a sexual relationship,
But without emotion.
It's very hard to create
Intimacy.
relationships.
Real intimacy.
Real intimacy.
Well, being vulnerable.
That's right.
You're being emotionally available.
And that's very worry. I really think that like the millennials, they have this thing that they can really go to bed with somebody, but they are so afraid that you will hurt them that they won't open themselves to anybody.
There's a false sense of freedom in the hookup thing. And just my own interpretation of it. This is coming from like somebody in their 50s now. So, so this is like, no, it just in my mind that they think it's being free. They think it's being crazy.
With Tinder, I think it makes it easier. So that's why having so much access to that.
Having access to that, but actually, the idea of just the sexual thing is, again, I would call that, if I may, and you tell me because you're the sexologist and the author, and I want to talk about your books in a second too, your new book, very popular book, is that I would say the Tinder thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just my own interpretation. It seems like it's just masturbation with somebody there.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the relationships...
What do you mean? Like,
I think it's masturbatory. It might as well just be masturbating. It's just with somebody else in the room with you.
The other
Oh,
person...
okay, I get it.
Okay,
Yeah.
because
It's
it's
a
that
sex toy.
superficial, and it's that, so it doesn't have the real risk or the vulnerability of what you have to put in to get to know somebody, even at a basic level. I mean, before you know,
like flirting a little bit, having a little conversation,
or
and
having a
then
knowledge of them, or the people
Yeah,
that know you, that know them, that know
exactly.
them, that
Like a
know other
little bit
people
of
that know you.
tension.
Yeah,
right?
there's like,
that's gone. That's true.
I think that basically what you do is you see a person as a thing. And that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a cosification. It's you consume people.
Yeah,
and when
okay.
you consume, the problem with consuming people is that it's like fast food. It's not nutritious.
Yeah, okay.
The only thing, have you ever had these greasy hamburgers because you were very, very hungry
Yeah.
and you wanted to eat a lot, and then you eat it and you feel like, you
Yeah.
can't even, not even cope with the smell.
Even it's a repetitive behavior. It's like and for people, I just imagine, and I don't know because I mean, literally the only time I've seen Tinder is when Ido has been over here, and like Ido, my friend from Israel, the great Ido Museri, and Ido says like, "Go, I tweeted, and this girl is the good beautiful girls, but they never switch." I don't know what's the side that says yes.
I think it's. I think right if you like the person, left if you don't like it.
See, but they never call me back. I don't understand, Robbie. Why don't? But I do think it's it's a repetitive behavior that it's the same relationship with different people, and in a very superficial,
It's a very superficial
safe.
way.
It's very
because-
safe.
Well, I don't know because can you imagine
no,
like
emotionally safe.
oh emotion? Well, yeah. You know what the danger I think it is also like if you go in those places, like Tinder or whatever other apps are. It's like you don't know if you're gonna meet with a psychopath.
Well, that's the thing.
It's like Craigslist for sex. This basically, but not even prostitutes.
You know,
but like
a funny story though. It's like because it's like my parents. They went to go see this movie because they thought Woody Allen was in it because Diane Keaton was in it. So they thought Diane Keaton. They said, "Oh God, this is going to be a Woody Allen movie." It was Looking for Mr. Goodbar about this nymphomaniac or this sex addict who just kept more men until finally she got murdered by this guy. My parents had never went out to see another movie in a theater for 10 years after that. But so there is that danger.
it
There's
has to be right. I mean, it's like when you sell furniture in Craigslist, you don't know who's gonna come to your house. It's
Yeah,
like,
but
I
at the
think
same
it's the
time, there is a
thing.
record though. There is like
Yeah,
they're not-
but you can create a fake account.
Oh,
Right?
you
Oh,
do.
God,
You
this is so
do. You
creepy.
just open your Facebook, a fake.
Oh,
yeah,
God,
they
this
just.
is
Yeah.
very creepy.
I mean, you have to.
It's
do
almost
it.
as creepy as the women who change their faces to make them, and they put a face thing too. It's the same.
The filters. you thought
Filters. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I love filters. I love them.
Yeah, we
I
all
have
use
so
filters.
much fun with that.
Okay,
But,
so
first, one thing I love, I could have a casual relationship with somebody
Mm-hmm.
for a day, but for me will be casual, intimate relationship. For me, I could see somebody, then we could have sex, but for me would be, it's not that I'm going to use you to give me pleasure. I'm going to share something magic with you in this very moment. I'm conscious that we are not going to see each other, but we are going to enjoy it
yes.
together. So we are going to be a synergy. I'm going to treat you as a human being,
Yeah.
as a sexual being, and something else that maybe is spiritual. So 2 + 2 will be 6.
Okay.
And then I might not see you again, but it's like sometimes you go to the moon and you go back to planet Earth and you look at the moon and say, it was such a good moon, no? Like, something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. That's not...
Well, that's not the
for
same
me-
as as starting this relationship with somebody and then you go, oh God, now I got to deal with that guy.
Okay, that's casual.
True.
Yeah, but that's casual, meaningful sex.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I see what
exists.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But-
Tinder is different because, I mean, I know a lot of people who married with Tinder, you know.
With Tinder?
Yeah, they do. You know,
Wow.
it was really funny. Once I was in the show.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's just like sometimes, for a lot of people, it's the excuse to meet somebody. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
for me, it's easy to have sex. Let's talk, and suddenly we understand each other, and
Yeah.
let's leave sex for later on, and we give each other a chance or something like that. They just
So it's a dating. It
could be sometimes.
It could be a dating app with benefits.
But talking
With
about
definitely
psychopaths,
yeah.
I do think psychopaths. We had psychopaths 30 years ago, and they were in the nightclub, and they look gorgeous, and they
Oh, that's
smell
true.
very
This
nice.
is
you're
so-
right, you're right.
A psycho could be anywhere. The
That's true.
idea that this guy that I know at work, he's perfectly fine. I know him from work. Got to.
that's true.
So I do think that's out there.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't know, maybe because that's the way I am, I'm a paranoid person. I have a...
your mind always goes to the worst possible
Exactly.
place.
Like I go like 10 steps ahead of what I should always think. So I gotta say that I'm so glad Tinder didn't happen in my time because I would have never used it because of that, because I would be thinking like, what if this person's a crazy person? I feel like, yes, you can meet a psychopath anywhere.
Yeah.
But also I believe that you don't put yourself in the position to get hurt either. That's my only way,
Yeah.
of thinking like.
But there is also, it's like gambling. There is certain excitement.
Oh yeah,
When
that's
you
the
just
thing,
do
like,
that,
you
know.
and you get these tickles in your stomach, and suddenly he say yes. So the adrenaline goes up. I was like, what do I do now? What is
that's
it?
true. Yeah,
It's like a little bit of a game.
It's like it's like Kevin Spacey in
Yeah.
a public restroom. It's like this could be fun.
Oh God, jeez.
yeah, and
I'm sorry, or a park.
But
as well
wait, so
for
but
Kevin.
also, I don't know. I just always
What?
like the idea better of getting to see someone feeling the chemistry or
Yeah.
that.
I agree.
Not by a picture only, because what if the person doesn't even look like their picture? Then
I-
then what do you do?
I
Then you're
do
stuck
think,
with
like,
that
I
person.
think that there's the flirtation thing, which Catherine Deneuve, which is I think one of the most beautiful women of the 20th century. She had this. She was brutally attacked because she came out against the Me Too movement, or horribly called Me Too, but the idea that that flirtatiousness is part of sexuality, and to take it away, is you're losing something important, something beautiful in that flirtatious thing. That if you just make it a line in the sand of this type of behavior, it's a ebb and a flow of sexuality, and in the flirtatiousness of is this she want me? No, she's not. Because is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? Am I pushing it too far? Should I slow down a little bit? And that's just the normal ebb and flow of sexuality or flirtation. flirtatiousness, and but just that she had come out and saying like, hey, there's some gray area, let's not remove it. She was brutally attacked, and she also came out like when it was still cresting, that whole it was about to crash on a lot of people, that sexual issue.
I think if flirting and all that, flirtation is fun if you like the person.
Oh yeah,
Because
that's right.
that's what the problem is. Because if someone is flirting with you
and they're creepy and they're not attracted to them, and
you're
that's
not attracted to them,
harassment.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why there is like,
especially in the work area.
But anywhere, even
Yeah.
if you are walking on the street and like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if someone is flirting with you.
That's
but
the first I've heard about that one. I got
but
to
you're
stop
not
doing
attracted to that person, then it's not good.
Yeah.
When have you heard that a super attractive guy? Let's think of Zac Efron or like Henry Cavill. They're in a in a bar and they're flirting with you. You're never ever gonna say, "God, that guy's so creepy."
Right. Yeah.
Never. They're never gonna be creepy because they're so freaking cute.
Right. So there's
I also think that and this is
so it's a woman's interpretation, excuse me, of like what that creepiness was, depending on the guy.
Depending on the looks of the guy,
Like
of
for
course.
instance, it's like there could be like a caress or just on the back or whatever, just to kind of be high or whatever. That's flirtatious or whatever. And if it's the wrong guy,
or like someone that you're not attracted to and it grabs or grabs your arm, you're gonna be like, "Hey, don't touch me." But if
Yeah.
fucking Henry Cavill grabs my shoulder, I'd be like, "Hello."
I also think that we tend to see things in a binary way, yes or no. And I think everything is about colors, I give you an idea. I know people is going to attack me. If somebody in my workplace, well, I'm talking about this to create this, I don't know, TV show. They tell me, "Hey, beautiful." Tells me that's the wrong contest. I would say, listen, tell me, "Hey, intelligent woman." Don't tell me beautiful. But I will tell him. I won't make a drama of it. I will be assertive enough to make sure I tell somebody, okay, that he's doing something that I don't like. Assertive, not aggressive. Because the problem we have, some women, they don't say anything, and rather than being assertive, they keep quiet until they become aggressive. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
So we have to learn to say, "Listen, guy, don't tell me that. I don't like it."
I don't
Okay,
like that.
Silvia, 1:00 at night in a nightclub, and this guy is looking at me, and he doesn't say, "Hey, beautiful," and I come to him and say, "Are you silly or what? Why you look at me?" But if the wrong guy, if a guy says to me, "Hi, beautiful," I wouldn't say, "Oh, go away." No, thank you. Thank you. I'm looking for another guy. Yeah. So there is a way to say, "I don't want any relationship with you." But if we don't say anything, guys tend to think that you like them.
yes. Well,
And that's the
I would
problem.
say though, I
Like-
mean, in all honesty, the average woman. Let's be honest about this, because I think the average woman, by the time they're 19 years old, they become an expert at getting rid of the creepy guys, the guys they don't like, and the guys that don't get that are the real. It's pretty obvious. They got to be really dumb.
I
It's
don't-
not so obvious.
no.
No.
Women don't know. You come on, give me that first part. Women become expert by the time they're 19 or 18 years old.
No,
they
they
become
don't.
experts in
No.
like, hey, I'm not. I mean,
Or-
don't hit on me. Get this
No.
guy away from me. You don't feel that way?
No.
No. Or what about I like this guy, but I don't want to have sex with him. And he feels, with the right, because you say, "Yes, I want a coffee with you," that he has to go all the way.
Okay.
What I think is first, because we really have to, I love seduction. I love seduction. You cannot
Yeah,
take
that's
away
what
seduction
Catherine
in
Deneuve
life.
was talking about,
And I
seduction.
love that. But I also think that women have to think first. Guys need to know that when we say no, it's no. Okay?
Yeah.
Even if before we say yes, no, now it's no. Okay?
Right, yeah, but Bill Burr just in his last comedy
That's
special
right.
was very funny. He said, "There's a difference between no and no." That's what Bill Burr said. No, no. They know that's Bill Burr. And like, it's like he had the balls to come out and say that. And like, it's just like, now come on. There's a seduction.
Yeah,
That's part of the
exactly.
seduction.
Yeah.
Don't take that away.
If I
No.
said, if I had
That should exist.
that has to exist, but I would tell my boy, be careful. If she says no,
Yeah.
don't even risk it.
Yeah, well, that's like,
Darling. Okay,
Yeah.
so she has to say yes. Otherwise, you don't give it to her.
Okay.
So,
All right. So there's no gray
because
area anymore in that.
There is gray area in.
You just took it away.
No, because
You just took it away from your son.
if a woman says no, it's no.
Okay. Yeah.
No. And then you have to tell her, beg for it. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Beg it to me.
If
Now
that's what you want,
is
you're
that
right.
what you want?
You know what? Sylvia
That's
has a great
interesting.
point. It's the lack of being assertive when we're communicating.
Okay.
Because
because guys are stupid in that sense. Okay, I agree
not
with that.
because you guys are stupid, but also because
No, we're stupid. Don't give us more than that.
No, I don't think guys are stupid. I just think we also don't communicate in the
Exactly.
way we
Okay.
should.
Yeah.
And I don't agree.
I don't read your mind.
Yeah, no, but also I don't agree with the fact that by 19, we don't know. Especially, you know what?
I
though?
think women become experts, and this guy is trying to have sex with me. That's what I'm saying.
We think that
Okay.
all of them want to have sex. with
Yeah,
us.
because that's
problem.
the truth.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No, but it's easy to just say, yes, everyone wants to have sex with me. If you're 19, you know that already.
Okay, yeah.
What you don't know is how to deal with that, because that's
Okay,
why.
well, I didn't.
If
okay, well,
women, if
that's-
women knew,
I didn't say that.
if women knew how to get rid of the creepy guys,
Yes.
like you said, then abuse shouldn't exist.
Don't point your finger at me like that when you thought creepy
Oh,
guys.
she pointed at you. I saw that.
I saw that whole point.
That's
So-
aggression.
That is aggression. But look, can we just say one thing though? Let me
How
just.
did it you?
I saw that finger.
this.
Yeah, that
No, but
was-
I saw that. That's very aggressive. I'm glad you caught that. You're my witness. So Sylvia, please tell us about your new book. Your most recent book.
my most recent book. I was so okay. I wrote this. This is my 5th book.
Unbelievable.
I know.
By the way, very popular. Now, has this been the new one's translated
It's
in
going
English?
to be, and it's
It's
called.
not available yet in English.
No, it's called "We Are All 2 Steps Away from Madness."
Wow, that's beautiful.
And the thing is, like,
I agree with that completely.
everyone, and
I
that's
agree with
the
that.
problem. Like, we
We're also 2 steps away. Can I just say this? We're 2 steps away from sanity as
of
well.
course, that's
the truth.
You just say the end of my book.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So basically, what it says is like we are so afraid when we have something, a mental disease or a disorder. We are so afraid to share it. But it's really funny. When you have a cough, if you don't take care of that cough and
Yeah.
you accept that you have a cough, that could become a pneumonia. And you don't say, oh no, I am going to treat this pneumonia. You have to go to the doctors, So exactly the same happens with anxiety disorders, depression, bipolar disorders, schizophrenia. There are so many addictions.
Okay, yes.
So my point is, we all have a type of personality that
Yeah.
makes us
Yeah.
more vulnerable to fall into a certain disorder. Okay? Like, for example, some people, because they want to control everything, because they are thinking about all the possible situations, because they want to make sure that everybody's safe.
Like me. I'm like that. I'm a control freak.
That's right.
So as a control freak, so that's an anxiety
Okay,
disorder?
that could trigger. She has that nature in herself. That
That could also
lead-
be called living in Mexico for most of her life.
no, because
No.
you live on uncertainty.
Okay.
For example, United States as a society sends more messages of anxiety. What happens if you don't have
Well,
money?
no, it's a
What
very
happens
fearful society,
if you don't have
America.
your health care? What happens if you just crash against somebody and you hurt somebody?
Well, yes. Well, we have been. It's funny.
Is
It's
there
interesting.
insurance?
America is one of the more fearful countries in the world, and it just people. It's the button that you push, and it seems to be working for 240 something years now.
It's the fear of getting sued here. Anyone can sue you here.
Yeah,
I would say
that's so true. It's like I'm gonna get sued.
yeah.
It's like if you break your leg, let me drag myself over in front of that CVS
All right, but let's
store.
go back. Let's go back to Silvia.
I
Sorry,
would
we
say
interrupted
Mexico
you.
is more like, it's like, for example, depression is also associated with anxiety. It's really funny when
Well, tell me how do you break down that?
because anxiety, what anxiety does is that at the end, it stops your immune system to work because you are constantly on a stage of alert.
Oh, yeah.
You're thinking everything. So one day your immune system is, I cannot take care of any more disease of you.
That's
We were
true.
just talking
We're just
about
talking
that.
about that. It's fight or flight.
That's
To
right.
stay in that level. Here's an interesting thing we brought up on the other one. I'm sorry?
On depression, what it does also is that the the
Chemistry.
chemicals
Chemicals.
that we have in our brains, endorphins, okay, all those chemicals that they make us feel well, that they give us energy, norepinephrine, they just one day they say we are going to stop working too, because they get tired too of so much anxiety.
Okay,
that's the reason a lot of people who has achieved a great success, then afterwards they get depressed, and everybody says, well, why she's depressed if she has everything? Yes, she has everything, but this is like a bank account. You cannot get so many things from this emotional bank account because now it's empty. Now you don't produce serotonin. Now you don't create endorphins. Now you don't have norepinephrine, that is the chemical that gives you energy, So anxiety is so dangerous because it causes a lot of diseases. Just to give you an idea, when you treat some patients, they really need to be treated with drugs. If they don't think that they are very severe, they might give them...
I'm all for temporary drugs. I just don't think you should stay in it forever because it just
That's
coats
right.
the problem. But for instance, what you're talking about is hitting those endorphins or hitting that fight or flight level for a very long time and staying there. Is that it? Just it does make you sick, and after a while, the body
collapse.
says
You
no,
collapse.
you can't do it anymore, and you have to turn
Yeah.
it off. So it's a critical thing. It's in the same way we talked about this before. Whereas people getting used to being abused, and they have lowered themselves, their self-defenses, because they're used to it, and they're no longer reacting to it, and the body is saying, hey, listen, we can't take that anymore, and they're just not defending themselves anymore. So that's an interesting way. It's I guess, is that an inverse of the opposite of being anxiety? Like being too anxiety, just laying your defenses down too much?
It wouldn't be the inverse, but we could say they are related. Seligman, a psychologist, talk about that exactly.
Okay.
Like when somebody has been
Abused.
Abused.
And
Like
used to
he
it.
was talking about a dog that he used to have in a cage with electricity, and when he tried to cross, it would be electrified. And one day the dog didn't try anymore, and there was not electricity anymore, and he died there.
Can I get where's that fence? Because we need that for our dog.
Of course, there is.
Jeez.
So basically, so we have anxiety. Like for example, in Mexico, I would say I'm more worried about addictions, but not hardcore drug addictions, alcohol addictions. Like
Alcohol?
people, they take for granted alcohol. Everything that happens in life is around tequila. All the families, they celebrate with alcohol. All the films, when they have to get together, there is alcohol involved.
Alcohol,
So I think that in terms of Mexico, we have more of a problem with
We're a bunch of drunks.
It's really funny, an alcoholism. But in general, they deal with anxiety in a more healthy way, because they say it's not so much up to me. Yes, and
I
also
like that. Well, that's kind of Zen-ish in the sense of what can I do about it? You surrender to it. It's like, well, hey, I'm not gonna. If it happens, it happens. I'm not going to worry about it all the time. Then what's worse, it happening or worrying about it happening all the time and it not happening?
You know what? I just realized you're right. I became more anxious when I moved here, rather than when I was in Mexico.
But there is a reason for it. First of all, we had a break-in here at our old house, and that's why we moved to the gated community. But it's true.
I mean, that definitely was. But you know what? Maybe that was like the result of all this
of the anxiety, creating it, making
that
it
I
happen.
created it, myself.
Well, is there something to that? Do you think is that how creation works in your mind? Do you cover the stuff in your book, by the way?
I think that because you
Can you create something bad to happen if that's the focus of your?
but you can create what it is anticipate anxiety.
Okay, so what basically, if you're thinking about something
But
bad
you are not.
happening,
For me, I don't think you are invoking the things.
okay,
to
okay,
come
because
to
I
pass.
think that's kind of metaphysical, but you don't have medic superpowers. But I do think if you're having anxiety all the time. That the anxiety of this thing happening or this something happening is worse than actually the event that could happen, or it could be worse, right?
Completely.
So I mean, it's just like in the same sense we were talking about avoiding an issue and avoiding a problem. The avoidance of the problem creates a bigger problem than the problem itself.
It creates a trauma.
Okay.
Rob,
Then the avoidance.
don't think about sex. What are you thinking about? Sex.
Yeah.
Oh, you bad boy. You just let me down. Now I'm creating a trauma. You're a bad person. Thinking about something I told you not to think.
Wow. Jeez.
You know what though? I was
That really makes sense.
I was just listening to this. I'm listening to this new book, and it's about the Mexican indigenous, the Toltecs.
Toltecas, yeah.
And they were talking about like how we are domesticated. They said we think that we only domesticate animals, and they said we domesticate humans.
Oh, that's
because we teach. Like they were saying that we all learn around 2 or 3. Like we learn it real good. We get domesticated by 2 or 3 because we learn that everything in life is gonna be either a punishment or a reward, because that's what we do with our children. We always tell them, oh, you don't want to eat this? Okay, you're not going to get this. And then when there's like, oh, you did very good. Okay, you're going to get a blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So everything works through a reward or punishment.
I mean, that's cut and dry, but it does seem to be the...
no, but then they said
training.
that translates to everything in our lives, like love. So that's why we have to create all these different personalities. Of like, oh yeah, like you I don't know, like if you have an idea of what your perfect woman would be, then I will try to meet those standards. And then eventually,
that's interesting.
and then you're gonna do the same. So what I was listening today was like we also have like how we present to our friends, like the face we present to our friends, to our spouse, blah blah blah, and then we have our own face, like our true real face, right? So anyways, so they said when you meet someone and you fall in love, then it's not only the fake face of the guy and the fake face of the girl, it's also the fake face of the idea of the guy that you are, plus the fake face of the idea of the woman I am. Because also you idealize, I idealize, then create all this crazy and then we just try to meet those standards through punishment or reward. Punishment through reward till everything falls apart.
And basically because we are looking for, when you want real love, you don't expect so much from the other person because normally you love yourself. There is a word that in English that we don't have it in Spanish. And it says a lot about how I do think that language is...
self-esteem?
No, it's solitude and loneliness. In Spanish, we only have soledad. Soledad is bad. So we only have the word loneliness. Okay? So what I like of the English language is that sometimes you can enjoy it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That solitude.
Oh, yeah.
And it's something...
If I didn't make myself laugh at myself and just laugh in general, I would have gone mad long before. Just that you have to entertain yourself and be okay buying yourself. I have some friends of mine who are just not okay being alone. I some really, really interesting, successful people who can't be alone ever.
Because they need the reward from somebody else.
Yeah, and I find it fascinating because I do think that there's something to that. And like, I don't know what the fear is. What is the fear of people who don't want to be the solitary or the loneliness? And why don't you have that word?
It says a lot
because
about
we don't have that
society.
problem.
Well, you don't.
I would say, as a culture, we have it because to try not to be with ourselves, we can be with the wrong person.
Wow,
That's
And
true.
wow,
You know,
and that's another kind of loneliness. That's a worse kind of loneliness.
That's worse. But
Yeah, that's worse than being alone.
That's true.
Someone doesn't love you.
Yeah.
and it's something very. And there is another thing that I love. That is, for example, in Spanish we have "te amo" y te quiero.
Yeah.
And in
See.
English, you only
That
te
doesn't
quiero.
exist.
I love
Yeah.
you. Whoa, what is that?
So, can you explain like what was the difference? The te quiero means I love you, but also
Te
te
quiero.
amo means I love you.
No,
Te amo means I love you.
it's another type of love.
Passionate.
It's passionate. It's
Yeah.
like if I would die now, I would die with you. You know, you don't amas everybody.
That's
It's
true.
you amas. You know, so when somebody says te amo demasiado, never you amas demasiado. Okay?
Okay.
Like so the when you understand a culture, you understand what they lack.
Yes.
And I do think that a lot of relationships that you see in a lot of countries, I think in French they have it too, is that you don't know how to enjoy yourself. We try to fill our emptiness with someone else
Wow.
rather than just covering that and a feeling of ourselves. And I do think, because it's something I with age, I used to think, oh my God, I'm getting older, you know. But oh my God, I'm getting wiser, and I love it.
Oh yeah. I definitely feel that as
And
well.
I love it now. I
Yeah.
used to hate it. When I was like in my mid-30s, it's like, oh my God, you know,
That's over.
I'm going to
I know.
my pencil over my boobie. It just holds it. I'm getting old. You know, I have like jelly, a lot of cellulite, things like that. And now, you know, I am in this stage of wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay, very soon I want to become a sensei, because now everybody's coach of life.
I know.
I know. We
Is
were
that?
talking about
just talking
like
about
life
coach
coaches.
of life.
This life coach is my niece. God bless her, Crystal. But like,
You have to be 50 at
how
least.
the hell can you be a life coach?
No.
But you know what? At the same time, is God bless her. She's helping somebody with some advice. They need it. Now, let me ask you a question. Like, now, is this something like? Have you felt you'd ever have to meeting a guy because of the size of your brain and your intellect and your potential to totally read the person and just break them apart? Do you ever feel like you have to dumb yourself down to, or just like hide your intellect with somebody when you used to date somebody? Do you feel like you needed to do that, or did you feel like when the sense of you're intimidating some guy?
What I do when I like a guy,
Yeah.
I mean, if the question
Clearly,
you're
you
asking
could
me is
destroy
they
them.
never do it the first time well. I know it. They're going to fail because they're so nervous.
They
And
never
I-
do the first date well. You're
No,
saying
never.
risk.
No, if-
because what happens? You make them nervous, or they just know
They have anxiety, but you know, it's like, and it's normal, and
It's normal, yeah.
it's just for poor guys, you know. In,
Do guys have it rougher than women, or do the women have it rougher?
guys have it
Have it
very
rougher,
rough
right? Because
in
they're the
terms
ones
of-
that have to approach.
Yeah, this,
Before Tinder, guys had it tougher.
I mean,
But why do guys have it tougher? I'm sorry.
okay, it's different. Like, women have tough because they don't know how to please themselves.
Okay,
you know?
yeah,
So
generally,
like,
yeah.
for example,
Apparently not my wife, but go ahead.
Some women don't know how to please themselves.
but you know, once you know how to do it yourself,
Yeah.
every single man is a good lover. Careful.
Well,
Because
that's
you know how to
good.
please yourself.
Okay, but getting back,
Okay.
yes, beautiful. That's
Guys,
great.
okay,
Let's
so-
just, because most of the people, I don't know if most of the guys listen to our show are women, but like getting to guys,
Okay, the guys.
Yes.
It's a lot of pressure for them.
it's worse
It's
for
very
guys.
unfair.
Because who's worse? It's the woman that's being asked to dance, waiting to ask, or the guy
I am
having
just
to
a
have
magician.
the guts. Of the
you know,
guy
women, we feel like a
needing
magician.
the guts.
You
Okay.
know, I get naked and suddenly this big thing goes up. You know, that's great. But there's not a bone there. There's not a muscle. It's real magic.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
it's so hard to get an erection. And not only an erection that looks to the moon, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's very hard, you know. It's like, guys,
Yes.
this is tough. That when you think about it,
pressure.
there is so much anxiety
Yeah.
that anxiety blocks erection. And
Yeah.
you know why? Because the anxiety is a signal of there is a danger. And if there is a danger, what are you doing trying to reproduce with somebody? You should be running away. So that's the problem.
Okay,
So
right. Okay, getting to that anxiety for men now.
it's very hard.
What about the? It's the.
Something
I
personal.
forget the
Come on.
Latin term for it, but
The-
it's the vagina de.
How do you say it?
The vagina de. But it's the vagina with teeth. The complex, the idea that if I have sex with this woman, I'm going to lose my dick. I'm sorry to say, but like, there's
What?
What?
that.
What are you talking
no,
about?
there is a real complex that is a medical complex.
Shark.
You know that there's a real medical complex about the. I forget. God, let me look it up right now.
All right, look it up.
Okay.
That's a trauma.
So like yeah, exactly. I
why
was
we
going
have
to say that has to be a trauma or something. You know what else I was
No.
listening to the other day, and Silvia, you can help me with this. I was listening to this other book because I'm addicted to listen to books now that I drive the kids to school and all that. So apparently, you should, as we were talking at the beginning, you should fantasize when you masturbate. You're not supposed to watch porn when you're masturbating. And the theory was because when you fantasize, when you close your eyes and you actually think, you create those endorphins. And apparently with the if you just watch porn, it takes away that part of your brain creating all this fantasy.
That's right.
Is that true?
So, well, it's just if you're going to that same place all the time, then it's just like hitting your drug, like just like taking drugs too much.
I think it's like taking melatonin, then you can't sleep eventually.
Well, it doesn't. You can't, because if that thing is it gets worn out as far as your.
You have right now. We have a problem, Houston. Very big problem.
Okay,
Most
it's called
of the
it's
kids-
called vagina dentata. Okay.
Vagina dentada, pero ¿qué es
Vagina
eso?
dentata. The vagina dentata describes a
no.
folk tale in which a woman's vagina is said to contain teeth, with the association implication that sexual intercourse might result in injury, emasculation, or castration for the man involved. Now, that's an actual thing.
We know how to kiss with our vagina. It's different. Like, bésame, bésame mucho. That's a lot of women. If they train themselves with the Kegel exercises, we can stimulate much better our man. That's okay.
But I'm just talking about I'm talking about the fear of men being emasculated. That is a real thing. That guys can go through that kind of fear where they're just like, they can't.
But we
have
will
sex.
never bite them. We promise. We might hold them.
Okay, but I'm just saying
Because-
that's a real thing.
Yeah, it's something that now you're going to ask me if you get the spots if you masturbate or something like that. That's the second taboo. But
Right.
it's something that I heard about it, but it's completely false.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously false. But I'm saying though that's a very strange, weird anxiety. So
well-
getting back to what you're saying
Yes,
with about
darling.
like with masturbation, whereas if you're watching too much porn, it's like that endorphin of the kind of level you're hitting it so hard after a while that no longer it doesn't get you that excited anymore, like regular sex.
Okay, it's like the chile. Okay, if you start with a little bit of chile, and then you have to eat a chile poblano, and then you end up with habanero, and it doesn't taste anything, and you eat 2 habaneros. The same
'Cause you've
happens.
you worked your way up to it.
That's right. The problem we have with porno right now is that kids, when they are 15, they watch 2.
Yeah.
2, a man and a woman. Then, when they are 15, they see something that is like the Circo del Sol, el Circo del Sol, and you say, wow. And when they are 19, they've seen so many things that when they see for the first time a real woman naked,
Yeah.
it's not enough to get excited.
Wow, because
that's
they're
a problem.
overstimulated.
That's right. And the problem we
Overstimulation.
have is even if they get any pills, I don't want to mention any brands, they won't work.
Wow.
It won't work. Because like if a guy who is 40 takes
Yeah.
a pill for
Erections?
for erections, it will work because his brain is excited,
Yeah.
But these type of kids, it's just they don't get it.
it's like
a
over consuming
woman.
this thing.
It's just 2 breasts. It's just a body.
Yeah, well, it's because it's what they fantasize, what they're used to seeing. Their mental images that have been. It's basically their wiring because they're seeing it so much that is what they're used to. That's what they're expecting this experience to be, and it can't live up to it.
And that's exactly the same. Is very similar
So
with
that's
the spicy
overstimulation.
food.
Okay.
Spicy food is the same. I initially I hated chile. I didn't like it.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do you Spaniards don't enjoy this hot food? What's your problem with
Well,
that?
I love it. I
Silvia's-
won
But
a
you weren't
contest.
used to it.
Silvia's Mexican now.
I'm Mexican. Yeah,
But
I
it did
am.
take you a while because the Spanish food. First of all, we love Spain. I love Mexico. I mean, Mexico is our second home. But like literally,
We love Spain.
But Spain to me, they just have like to me the influence is like to me it's like I got accused of like the most horrible. I guess it was at the Apex several years ago when they talk about cultural appropriation, which is like, how dare you take from us? Like, hey, Spain, you have no right to say that because Spain went around the world and appropriated from the Philippines their gold. They appropriated from like North Africa. They appropriated wherever they can,
Forget it.
and they
forget
take it. They take
We
it.
have el mantón de Manila. the Madrileans, the typical costume dress of a woman who is from Madrid like me,
See, it's from
she wears a mantón,
See.
like a scarf from Manila. And
That's
it's ours.
right.
It's ours.
Oh, that's
From
right.
Madrid.
You've taken it. So I got accused. I got accused of cultural
I have, by the way,
appropriation.
if you want to get to my Instagram, I have a picture that I'm completely naked and with Mantón de Manila.
Okay, that's good to know. And so, where are people? How do people find you? Before we go any further,
Give us your Instagram.
It's true.
and let me just tell you, I'm going to recommend you for this. We just did this podcast today, and I'll make sure and get you on that. Which is the great Brian Callen. It's The Fighter and the Kid, and he would love you. So we'll have to get you on that one, and that's one of the biggest podcasts there too. But also, how do people get a hold of you?
But you don't want me anymore. I mean, I wanted to. You took Patricia away from me.
I did.
You know.
I stole her from you. You have to explain what that is.
We
that
deserve.
you used to be the.
We deserve. By the way,
Yes.
a trio in a radio show.
Okay. Well, why don't you talk about because Patricia used to be the producer
She
for your
was.
show.
Yeah, I worked very happily with
Yeah.
Silvia.
We'll do it again.
We'll do it again.
This has been great, by the way, and it's not over yet. We're not. This is just. So this is beautiful. Okay.
Mantón de Manila.
And what is your
Beautiful.
Instagram so people can find you?
Oh, it's a very you have to write it down because nobody will write my name.
I'm going to write it down.
It's S for Silvia with 2 I's.
Okay, Sylvia with 2 I's. So SII.
SILVIA.
Okay, you said 2 I's. I thought you went in 2 in a row.
Yeah,
It's not in a row.
All right, let me see.
Okay,
And
Sylvia.
Olmedo.
SILVIA. Olmedo. OL.
O for Oliver, L for love, M for mother, E for England, D for David, O for Oliver.
Well,
Olmedo.
we're gonna put this
Sylvia
picture.
Olmedo.
You look beautiful.
We're gonna
here,
put
by
it.
the
We're
way.
gonna put it on for the podcast.
I love all of your pictures.
And we stole this Mantón de Manila from the Philippines.
Okay,
This
good.
is typical from Philippines.
From
That
my
is
family.
Madrileña, from your family.
From my family.
Yeah, but
My
we
family.
also have el cocido madrileño, which is a stew. It comes from the Jews,
Oh, really?
and it's the typical food from Madrid too.
Now, do you believe that Christopher Columbus was Jewish?
I think so.
Because there's that rumor. There's
really?
never
I
been
think
proved
so. Yeah.
that because you had to either leave in the 12th century, they got kicked out in the 1100s or something. The Jews were forced to leave the Sephardic, and they went in through Turkey, or they went in
to
through,
Turkey,
and then they went to up to Czechoslovakia, and then then they
those
spread out.
became Ashkenazis.
They became Ashkenazis because the Ashkenazis came from from Russia.
But they all went like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So you cannot see my hands. This means that we have to do a
video.
TV show together.
We're getting video for this
That's
the podcast.
we will.
So we were talking about what?
Okay, so let's
we're
go
talking
back.
about you being the producer of having
Okay.
the show.
Yeah,
What you did?
No, we worked together and it was amazing. We did this show when we talked about
She was
everything.
Patricia Delicia.
Patricia Delicia.
No, she's also Dr. Patricia sometimes.
Yeah.
When because people would call up and they would try to get on with and they would have a problem. It's amazing the people's problems that they have. So they would call
People
your
were
show, your
calling all the
TV show.
time.
I know.
They're calling on the show and they couldn't get on if they couldn't get on with you.
She would answer.
Patricia would
Yeah,
answer.
I would answer, yes.
And she would answer, and sometimes, I don't know if you'd give advice to people. Did you ever give advice to people?
No, of course I never gave advice to anyone. No, but you know what though? It's crazy because I have to say when Silvia, and I were doing this beautiful TV show.
What was the name of the show?
Cuéntame Love.
Cuéntame Love.
Cuéntame love. What does
So
that mean?
a lot of people.
Tell me love.
Cuenta.
So a lot of people would call. And they just want to talk to Silvia. It wasn't even about the theme of the show that day.
No, you
So
get
they were-
crazy people. You get people just they're bored.
No,
nice
no. They
people.
really
were
wanted
very
help.
nice.
Oh, they wanted help. Okay.
They wanted help, but
Because
let's
you
say
said talk to them. But you mean so these are people called and wanted advice.
exactly.
They're
They
not just
wanted
calling.
advice, but for
Because you
some-
just said they're just calling and want to talk.
no. I mean, they want to talk to Silvia,
But not
She's the
necessarily
expert.
about the theme of the show.
Exactly. So
Which is not
if the
helpful.
theme of the show was, I don't know, let's say, like sex addiction, right? If that was the theme, somebody would come and say, I broke up with my boyfriend. I don't know what to do.
This is no sex addiction.
It's like, sorry, this is not sex addiction. You cannot talk to
That's
Silvia
Tuesday.
right now.
Yeah, right. So
So what? But you have to also be nice, with people
Sure
and
you
just
do.
get them, off.
So she will answer them.
Yeah,
She was nice.
I can deal. She knows that I can deal with whatever you throw at me.
and so you would give advice to people and not being a doctor.
Yes. Well.
Just admit it.
Not advice. I was
anyway,
nice to them.
But but it's a good thing though. I mean, because the thing about it is like there are people who there's a pattern of people that have that there's people. I should say people fall into certain patterns that you can see it and you can help it. And a lot of times these people, or most of the time, they can't see it themselves. So it is nice if they're able to like say, "Oh wow, I didn't realize I'm doing this." And what is important for them to realize that they're not the only ones that have that, or they realize that they can get out of a pattern, or
And you know, when you verbalize your problem, sometimes you realize yourself what is your problem. It's called terapia narrativa, narrative therapy. And sometimes just when you put in words your problem, you are limiting your problem and you can see it better.
oh okay,
You know, so sometimes they would talk to Patricia and they would realize themselves what happened to them. You know, now you need the will to do it, which is different.
Okay.
That's the hard thing. Sometimes I know what I have to do.
but then you got to do it.
Then you have to do it.
Okay.
And that's the thing. In fairness, you can do it also writing.
Okay.
I really advise people when I am really, because of course I'm a psychologist, but I have gone to a psychologist.
Right.
I do advise people that if they have a problem, friends they have to listen, but they are not doctors. They are not experts.
Yes, and even even if you have a friend that's a doctor, if it's your friend, it's also it's not the same thing because
Yeah.
they become they're your friends, so it's not the
They
same.
are part of it.
Yes.
And just one thing that it really scares me. The worst thing
What's that?
you can say, when I go to the internet and I
Yes.
see all these positive phrases, wake up and the light.
That's the way I feel too. I think you have
Yeah.
there's too much positivity, and you're setting yourself up for like a miserable life because you can never live up to it. So you're talking about the same thing with sexuality. Is that with the pornographies that are so exciting and it's everything you can never live up to it. So you're saying that there's too much positivity or too much emphasis on positivity and not reality.
That's right.
Yeah.
That you have to.
Do you talk about that in your book?
Yes. And
We tell people the name of your book again, and if are you going to do it in English?
2 steps away from madness. We
2
are
steps
all-
away from madness.
A dos pasos de la locura.
Wow.
But one thing
That seems like a good movie title.
let's do it.
Let's make a movie.
Because
Okay,
I talk
I'd
also
love to
about
do it.
psychopaths because they
Oh my
can drive
goodness.
us. They can drive us crazy, and we don't know.
But here's the thing. So I want to back up just to what we were just talking about. But the psychopaths I want to talk about too, because you have to be able to identify bad people.
Oh yeah, that's
and people like is this guy
Well,
crazy? You trust those instincts. But you're talking about like right before this in what were we just talking about?
Oh, we were talking about positive.
Oh,
yeah,
positive.
yeah,
There
thank
we
you,
go.
thank you.
You see that just took an end around turn. Somebody doesn't smoke as much as us. Okay. No, you're right. The positivity as a potentiality or as a potential for misery.
Not only that, it can trigger
Anxiety.
somebody to get suicide.
Okay.
And I tell you
Okay,
why.
tell
Just, I give you an
That's really
example.
interesting.
If
And
you're
I'm sorry about
really-
that delay.
Oh, don't worry, because we are having such a fast drive and
Yeah.
we enjoy it so much that we just forgot the trees that we left behind. But the thing is,
Yeah.
when somebody has a cold and you tell this
Somebody
person...
has a cold.
And you tell this person, do you want some soup? And you say, no, I don't want soup because it doesn't taste anything.
Yeah.
People will understand that. Do you?
Right.
Because you cannot smell when you have a cold. When somebody has depression, it has the incapacity to enjoy every single thing in life. So when you tell a person, oh, come on, enjoy life, he will say, oh my God, I don't have that capacity.
Okay.
And he will become more miserable. So you cannot tell a depressed person, come on, you have it all.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you have all the food. Well, I have a
So
cold.
what do you say then?
So what you do is like...
You say your life sucks.
No.
You should be miserable.
No, darling.
What do you say?
You know what you do? It's like, okay, I think you have... You
need
are ill.
help?
You are ill.
Yeah.
And you need help.
Yeah.
The way you see reality now is not the way it is, but because you are sick, you need somebody who will help you.
Right, because the way their interpretation of their... And now this is something now... we're going to do a 2-parter with you. Is that okay with you? Do you have time? Okay, so we're going to do a 2-part. And what I really want to talk about in this next one... This has been terrific. It already flew by the hour. What I really want to talk about is exactly this. We'll talk about people that can get depressed, their interpretation of reality, and the foundational thinking needs to be you need to break that foundational thinking if it's an unhealthy interpretation. You have to come up with a foundation of a philosophy of this universe, of this madness, of this 2 steps away from madness, so you don't go mad. So you have to find a way to make it okay so you don't go nuts. Okay.
So question. Quick question. I'm sorry.
And that's what I want to talk about in the next hour, is finding one. And the weird thing is also, if you question somebody's madness, or you question somebody's and saying that's unhealthy, the way they're thinking, if you question somebody's belief system, they go fucking ape shit. They lose their mind because they don't want to be questioned. So there are those people, and my friend brought this up too, and she said, and this has got to be, and this is from a physical point. My friend Raymond Francis, who's this incredible, a biochemist who's really expert in human physiology. And he said, because I had this friend of mine, and she just, and he finally, and tried to get help for her, and he just said to me, Robert, there are some people who just don't want to get well because they're afraid of dealing with the issue, or they don't want to, they want to give their life over to somebody else and say, you take care of it. It's really interesting to see. And it's like they don't want personal responsibility to deal with their shit. And I think that is a lot of the problem. Avoiding personal responsibility.
But sometimes when they do that, it's because they are afraid. And when they are afraid, we can treat their fears.
Okay.
So, on the other hand, I'm going to give you an idea. Depression.
I'm kind of thinking you don't agree with what I just said.
No, I don't. but it makes sense what you say. But everything is based on fear.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So I don't want to deal with it because I think something bad is going to happen if I do it myself. Why? What type of damage have you suffered to make yourself think that you cannot do it by yourself?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so
the other thing,
they're still punishing themselves in some way, right? Okay.
So depression, for me, depression, it could be caused by a lot of things.
That was my question. I was gonna say, what causes depression?
A lot of things. There are like, what causes pneumonia? A lot of things. One day you went to the middle of the storm and you got pneumonia, and another day you saw somebody sick. She passed you the pneumonia, or another day, you don't know. There are a lot of causes, but once you have pneumonia, you need
to treat it.
To be treated, and you have to treat it with a different, depending the depression. One thing that is very important is some people, they do need the drugs, at least at the beginning.
I agree. I mean, because there's some people that can't function at all because they can't deal with it.
Like,
and so what it gives them is a chance of a potential to let that crazy anxiety go away for a little bit, so that they can recover from that.
That's right.
And slowly, but you can't stay on it because that they're still avoiding it. So, but I think those drugs are really important to get people off the bridge.
So it has to help at the beginning. Like I give you an idea. When your car you can have a bad car or your car is broken, but but it doesn't have battery. Unless you put battery, you cannot work in the rest of the car.
Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes you need that energy, that will that maybe an antidepressant gives you.
Right.
But a person who only receives the antidepressant is not being treated well.
Yeah.
You need psychotherapy.
Oh yeah. It's just it's a masking.
Necessary.
I'm all for temporary. Psychiatric drugs. I have a problem with some of them. There's potential side effects, and that there are 25 million people on them that maybe that are staying on them longer than is necessary.
I agree.
So, but I do think you have to be really careful about telling people that these drugs are bad. But I do think that you have to be careful that they don't stay on it too. I think and I also think it's a roll of the dice on how people are going to get more depressed from it.
Yeah, but Silvia got a point. Like she said, a lot of people, they're taking them, but they're not getting the help. So a lot of people is just medicating themselves with these antidepressants, but they're not getting the therapy.
The root problem,
or they're not
underneath.
Going to the therapy.
Yeah, it's very important to do both. You can't just take drugs.
Always by a doctor. This is
always by
very
a doctor.
important. Always. It's
Okay.
not about a life coach. This is very serious.
Yeah.
You don't take, if you have a pneumonia, you don't tell your friend to give you some air. You go to the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
This is very important.
Yeah.
And one thing, we all could suffer depression. All of those who think that it will never happen to them.
Oh, yeah.
Get ready.
Well, here's the thing about
I
it,
like
though.
that, get
No. But I think it's functional. I think it's functional. I think it's important. To me, it's like, if you haven't suffered depression, I mean, it's a normal part of life. I mean, I think you can only be as high as you felt low. I don't think it's what I'm taught. What the danger is not feeling depressed. I think it's okay to hit bottom. The problem is staying there and not getting to the root of what your depression is. I think people can get down, and I think everyone has had trauma, and I think, but it's if you avoid dealing with it, and if you're not, and also like if people or deny that you're depressed, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me.
But you know what, though? But that's what Silvia was talking about earlier. It's just like people don't want to say they're depressed because I would say, like, for most, for most people, they don't think it's a real thing. They don't think it's a real problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that physically you can see. Like, when she was saying, like, if you're coughing, it's like, oh, okay, that guy has a cold. But you can't really see depression.
Yeah, right.
And I was just looking at a picture on Instagram that somebody posted and said, this is how depression looks like. And it was all these people smiling.
Wow.
And it was insane. I was like, wow, that's so true. So I think the first thing that it needs to happen is we need to learn how to talk openly about those feelings. Say, hey, I think I have a depression, help me. Or not having people judging you and saying, oh, come on, you're going to be fine.
As a society, I think we're doing better with that.
My name is
I think we're doing
Silvia.
better.
I'm doctor in psychology, sexologist, and criminologist, and I suffer depression. And I did thinking that it would never happen to me. And the trigger was my dad had almost for a year and a half pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
I really thought I would, he will survive it. I put all my energy. I did everything I had to do. I thought we were going to win the battle. And then when he died, I collapsed. I
Wow.
really collapsed. Everything went down. It was a chemical reaction, but it also, I had to change the paradigm of life, which for me was very hard because I was told that if you try very hard, you will get everything. And that's not true now anymore for me.
That's
you have
really
to
interesting.
try it very hard.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't work, but you have done your best.
Yeah, that's right, and I think that's a really good point that we talked earlier about. That I think, okay, we're gonna do a part 2 of this, Silvia. So I want to talk about that. Is that the idea of telling everybody, hey, you can be anything you want, is not healthy because it ain't true. There are some things like I'm never going to be an astronaut. I'm never going to be. I don't care. Like, hey, no, look, you're in your 50s. It ain't going to happen. You're not going to be an astronaut. If you want to go to the moon, you better spend $10 million and get to meet Elon Musk, and hope that wears out. But I think you're right about that. Okay, so let's end this one.
You know what, though? I agree with that. Like we shouldn't tell people, like, hey, you can do whatever you want. But you know what, though? But also, I think we shouldn't say the opposite.
You shouldn't be pessimistic about it.
Yeah.
You don't put them down.
Yeah.
But the idea that, building people up for disappointment is what I think, is that what you meant by that, right?
Yeah,
Is it the idea that making this world this rosy kind of thing, like anything's possible, you're amazing?
that's a problem?
Yeah.
Because kids, they are happy until they are 25 when they found that they have a very bad boss and they have a crap job and they have done their best.
Yeah.
So we really have to be very careful with that.
It's about balance, though. It's about it's balance. You say, like, listen, you know what? Do your best, and God bless you. And if anybody could do it, you can do it. However, the idea that you're setting people up for disappointment by saying that they can be anything.
And also, you have to think first, what is success for you in your life, which is not what we think sometimes.
Oh yeah,
it is.
right.
And
we're comparing. That's we compare, we despair. So the idea that somebody else is doing this thing and I can do that, and if you don't get it, you're suddenly not successful. You're having a different interpretation.
And that's what's happening with social media. What you were saying, like we look at these pictures and we look at all these like motivational quotes and stuff, and then you compare yourself and you think, why am I not as happy as that person?
Or as beautiful, or as much money. And I do think, like, it's a really interesting thing. And I want to continue this in part 2. But I want to talk about that.
Now you're pointing.
I am pointing
That's
with
aggressive.
with a weapon.
That's
No,
a lethal weapon.
But this is like a real serious point that I think that you showed me, and which was kind of scary. But it's basically asking young people what it is that they want to be.
Que sera,
And what they
sera.
what they want to be, as opposed to like now, as opposed to like in the 80s, whatever. And one of the very high answers, I want to be a social influencer.
I know.
It's like, what?
I didn't say that.
You showed me that thing.
I did? I don't think so.
Yeah, and it was like a thing. You didn't make a big deal of it because you don't think it's a bad thing, but I think it is.
Are you accusing me of something? Like, how did I? Maybe
No.
I didn't even say that, and it was someone else.
No.
And
It
you're
was,
being
it was on your
confused.
Instagram. I don't go on Instagram unless I'm looking at it with you. But anyway, yeah. But it was like this is a list of things that, and it's like this is what people want to be, and it's like whoa, that's like a really that's new. I mean, I want to be an influencer of other people. I guess it's like a weird way to say I want to be a life coach, But I want to be, but just to make money. I want to be
Because they are making money.
They are making a lot
and
of
we
money.
were talking about that earlier before we started doing this. Sylvia and I, we were talking about how fake this is, including the numbers that they show you.
Oh gosh. Okay. Now, so what are we going to talk about on our next part two that you think? What would be? What would you want to talk about with Sylvia for part two of this one?
Well, I have a lot of topics.
Okay, which ones we're gonna? We'll tease it for the following week, and let's just say again where they can get a hold of you. An Instagram again is I'm gonna repeat this here.
Yeah.
It's Silvia Silvia Olmedo, which is Olmedo, and that's at Instagram, right? That'll be your Instagram, Silvia Olmedo.
And I'm going to talk about self-esteem.
Okay, we're gonna talk about the next one we're gonna do part 2 will be self-esteem and lack thereof,
And
then
how it's not something that is a fixed thing, how
Okay.
they can destroy our self-esteem.
destroy self-esteem.
Yeah.
And then, Patricia, what else?
And
do you
how
wanna cover?
to and you think like destroyed, and then how to
Rebuild it,
how to
yeah.
rebuild
How
yourself
to rebuild? How to rebuild
Our
your
self-esteem,
self-esteem? Okay,
that's
good,
right.
good.
and
what else?
empowerment. maybe.
And we're not going to talk about the vagina dentata this time.
Why don't we talk about something sexual?
Okay,
I like
we'll do that. So what would be
You
interesting?
know what Rob doesn't think that exists?
What's that?
Andropause. You don't think
I want
there's
to
a
talk
male
about that.
male
Well, there is no
menopause.
such fucking thing. First of all,
But I'm going to...
well, I want to talk about that. Let's not bring it. I want to talk about that.
And to the guys
Yeah.
that they are older than 40,
We're going to talk about this crap.
teach them.
Doesn't exist. Yes.
I'm going to tell them some tricks to become great lovers.
Okay.
And
Okay.
this
Tricks
is-
to become great lovers. I'm gonna write. Okay. This is
That's
going to
a
be
good-
part
yeah.
2. Sylvia Olmedo.
And this has
Tricks
to,
to
do
become
with
great
this
lovers.
word, okay?
You know what though?
Barcelona.
We should talk about that. I really like the teaching men to be better lovers, because I have to say that I think, and this is just my theory, right? Like this
Okay.
is
They
that
also-
most men don't know how to please a woman. Most men, they think they can, but they don't know how.
Oh my God, I can see swords in the...
And
I
then
know.
and
I
then but if you say like what are the tricks and what are the things to
Yeah.
become, because I think that's why
I think you're watching too much porn.
no
All right. Okay,
no.
we'll do that. We'll bring that up.
yeah.
That's going to be part 2, and that's going to be a really good one.
Because you
this
know
has
what,
been
though?
great, by the way. First of all,
Yeah.
Sylvia, we love you, and you're always a pleasure. And I swear, every time I talk to you, it's like I before we even doing a podcast, I said somebody should be recording this. Because you have such a great way of cutting through stuff and just very explaining things. You make what I think the real definition of, not what I think, that supposedly what the real definition of genius is taking something very complicated and explaining it in a simple way so bozos like me can understand it. And so you've been able to do that. And thank you for
Can
that
I say
today.
one thing? Tell them that you meet in Cuéntame Love, in Guerra de Chiste, to this guy, and he took her away from me.
That's right.
That's
We'll
the
talk
thing.
about that in the next show.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
That's
we're,
true.
we're gonna work together again.
We'll
don't
work
worry.
together again.
This happened.
Obviously, this has
I
been
know.
great. Okay, so thank you so much, Sylvia. This
Thank
was
you.
a pleasure. And Patricia, come on, please tell everybody about what you're doing now, because you have this beautiful new cooking channel.
Yes, you can find me on YouTube as Patricia Maya Schneider. I have a little cooking channel that is very simple, easy recipes. Everyone can do it.
Everybody can do it, and it's all
Yes.
delicious and simple and
And
quick.
healthy.
And
Ish.
healthy, yeah.
Ish.
Healthy-ish,
But
okay.
yeah, but also you can find me on Instagram at I am Patricia Maya. So
Delicious.
follow me. Silvia me conoce como Patricia Delicia.
Patricia Delicia.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. And so we're going to do a part 2.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then so people can also can they see you on YouTube or other
I
stuff?
have everything is Silvia Olmedo. I basically took all the domains.
Oh, you did. And do you have?
Yeah.
Is it in
A
English too as well?
I do have a lot of things in English too.
Okay.
By the way, for me, the most important thing right now is just if you have a question in English, I will answer in English.
Okay,
You send
great.
me a message, and I will answer.
That's
to you.
beautiful. That's very kind of you.
Okay, and so I
You're
love
gonna
to
get
do
a
that.
lot of messages now.
I hope so.
I want to. So next week we're gonna and next week we're gonna do tricks to be for men over 40 and menopause, which doesn't exist. There'll be tricks to become great lovers. Guys, you better come in and we'll talk about self-esteem with Silvia Olmedo, and we'll hear more from the lovely Patricia Maya. And thank you for listening to See What Happens. And next week you're gonna see what happens, guys. And David, our producer, will let you know where our dates are going to be coming up. And thanks for listening. And let me tell you where I'm going to be this weekend. I'm going to be in Coquitlam, BC. That's September 27th, Friday. Coquitlam, BC. And that's at the Molson Canadian Theater at the Hard Rock Casino. And then you can catch me if you want to go to Nevada at the Mont Bleu Casino Resort and Spa. And that's October 4th. And then also we added a show at Sally Tomatoes in Rohnert Park. Sally Tomatoes, Rohnert Park. That's October 5th. We'll be doing 2 shows. I get to see my buddies out there. My buddy Rick Glosser and Monica Torres are going to come see me. Woo! And then, of course, I'll be at the Blue Lake Casino October 6th. Sunday, and then the following weekend, no, not the following weekend, but October 18th and 19th, I'll be at Ontario, at the Ontario Improv. And then one of my favorite places to play, the 25th and 26th, is La Jolla Comedy Store, La Jolla. I hope you guys come out and see me, and it'd be great. And come out and see what happens. Thank you.